Hello everyone and welcome back to Jules Math Tools. In our session today, this is part 2 on calculating angles on a straight line. And in this session, we are dealing with angles on a straight line where more than one angles are involved. So if you want to learn how to calculate your angles on a straight line with more than one angles, make sure that you stay tuned. To calculate the measure of our angle C, we're going to begin by first writing out our equation. Now remember that with your angles on a straight line, these angles all sum to 180 degrees. So we're going to begin by first writing out our equation. That means that my angle 41 degrees plus 34 degrees plus 62 degrees plus C should all add up to 180 degrees. Now I'm going to add up all of the angles that were given to me. So all of the numbers that are known to me, I'm going to sum all of these angles. So that means I'm adding my 41 degrees, 34 degrees, and 62 degrees to get a sum on these angles. 1 plus 4 is 5, 5 plus 2 is 7, 4 plus 3 is 7, and 7 plus 6 is 13. So the sum of the angles that are given to me is 137 degrees. So that means that my 137 degrees plus C should add up to 180 degrees. And now, just like we did in our first video, we're going to be subtracting our 137 degrees from 180 degrees. And remember that after subtracting, the measure of the angles that are left over is what will be the measure of your angle C. So 0 can subtract 7. We're going to borrow from 8, making it 7, and changing my 1 into 10. 10 subtract 7 is 3. 7 subtract 3 is 4. And 1 subtract 1 is 0. So the measure of my angle C is equal to 43 degrees. And remember, we're going to perform our last step, which is to check our answer to make sure that all of the angles that we got does add up to 180 degrees. We're going to be adding our angle 41 degrees, 34 degrees, 62 degrees, and instead of adding C, we will be adding the measure that we got for C, which is 43 degrees. And remember that all of these angles should add up to 180 degrees. Now you may be wondering, why am I adding the angles up individually instead of using the 137 degrees that I got earlier? Well, I feel for me that in adding the angles up separately, this way I can make sure that when I do get 180 degrees, that means that everything else was also added up correctly. Whereas if I may have used 137 degrees, let's say for some reason I added 137 degrees incorrectly, then naturally the answer that I got for 43 degrees would also be correct, because I'll be getting a sort of incorrect answer from an incorrect sum. So adding them up separately for me would give me a more definite assurance that my answer that I got, which is 43, is actually correct. So 1 plus 4 is 5, 5 plus 2 is 7, and 7 plus 3 is 10. We put our 0, carry the 1. 1 plus 4 is 5, 5 plus 3 is 8, 8 plus 6 is 14, and 14 plus 4 is 18. So that means that with all of my angles and with the answer that I got for angle C, they all do sum to 180 degrees. Let's try our next example. Feel free at this point to pause the video, calculate the measure of angle E, and then when you're ready, follow along with me to see if me and you got the exact same answer. Let's begin by first writing out our equation, which is angle E plus 42 degrees plus our 58 degrees should all sum to 180 degrees. And now we're going to be summing the angles that are given to us, which is 42 degrees plus 58 degrees to get a sum on these two angles. So 2 plus 8 is 10, put our 0, carry the 1. 1 plus 4 is 5, and 5 plus 5 is 10. So the sum of our two angles is 100 degrees. And now we're going to be subtracting our 100 degrees from our 180 degrees. 0 subtract 0 is 0, 8 subtract 0 is 8, and 1 subtract 1 is 0. So the measure of our angle E is equal to 80 degrees. And now we're going to check our answers just to ensure that we calculated everything correctly. So we're going to be applying our substitution and substituting our angle E for our 80 degrees, which we found for its measure. So 80 degrees plus 42 degrees plus 58 degrees. 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 plus 8 is 10. Put our 0, carry the 1. 1 plus 8 is 9. 9 plus 4 is 13. And 13 plus 5 is 18. So we see that in adding up all three of our angles, they do sum to 180 degrees. Okay, so there you have it. We just calculate the measure of our unknown angles. Remember that when you're using angles on a straight line, all you have to do is sum the angles that are given to you and then subtract their total from their sum, which is 180. And whatever measure is left over is the measure of your unknown angle. But remember, after calculating, to always go back and add up all of your numbers just to make sure that they do add up to 180 degrees. And until next time, this is Jules Math Tools, where math is made easy.